Learn Michael-ben-Pesach Portnaar. Baderech el Chasulam. On the way to the ladder. Lesson 10. We continue with the Zohar. The Zohar is the main course. In the first paragraph we have learned that the 5 leaves of the lily, the 5 gurot, 5 din, are 5 severe strengths. And these 5 tough leaves, masach, the strength that has arisen in the lily to resist the incoming light. When a lily isn't in the situation to reflect the light, she is named the 5 leaves, 5 tough leaves. In the next phase, she can reflect the light, receive the light, and then they are named 5 gurot. Only listen without understanding. Do not ask what and how. That will come later. That is the secret of the 5 words. That is the secret of the 5 words between the second mentioning of the name Elohim, the name of the Creator by which the world is created. In the commentary, he writes the name not with a hey, but with a kuf, for not using the name of the Creator in vain. Even in his commentary, can you imagine? Because only in the Torah this is allowed, and he doesn't use the name with a hey in the commentary. Till the third use of the name Elohim. The third time is just before, let there be light. Between the second and the third time the name Elohim is used, there were 5 words, and through this he tells us the relation with the forming of the Masach, the resistance of the Nukva. These are the 5 tough leaves. Later it will all become clear because slowly we get Kilim, the sensitive doors for the Zohar. These words are hovering above the surface of the waters, and he said. Mrachafet means hovering. Normally you see the present time of the word to hover, but here you see the word hovering. And that is what is written in the Zohar itself. Why is this called the name of the Creator? Once more. Why is the name of the Elohim mentioned once more? Everything what is written in the Torah is the name of the Creator. Every word is a specific strength in the universe. How do we misuse these words? It seems boring for you at the start, but every word is strength and gives us the additional strength and correction of the processes written in the Torah. The Torah doesn't speak about morality or whatever. That is what the common human being thinks. They are all names of the Creator and strengths of the universe, and they are structured in such a way that when a person reads this and he knows what he's reading by learning of the Zohar, he will penetrate the unknown strengths, because there is no other way to penetrate the spiritual than through the Zohar. Even if we don't understand, but when we have the complete devotion and the desire, we will receive without understanding. The understanding will come in its own time. This means that here is a new proceeding. Every time we see a new name of the Creator, a new proceeding is meant. And he says. He refers here to the Zohar, and we presume it is Rabbi, Hizkiah, because he was the first who opened his mouth in the first paragraph. Many antecedents we will meet, and it is to us to decipher them. Of course, I will assist you. For me too, it is difficult to decipher the antecedents. That makes it so special. With purpose, it is made in this way because you must think and feel. By working on it, you start to feel, because when it should be all deciphered for you, you would receive nothing. I will not make a tame, feeble story for you. The whole meaning is that you make effort, and that's it. This is different than what we're used to. We are used to understanding things, and that gives us an impulse. But here the meaning is that you lay your hand in the hand of the higher and come through to all the seeming confusions that the Kabbalists have made for you, and by this you will grow. It is named to let come out of Nukva the 5 tough leaves. Why is it mentioned once more, the name Elohim? God in the quality of the severe law. He is saying it is done to let come out of the nukwa, the 5 tough leaves. And that's why the name Elohim is used, and not the name of the merciful God. At the use of the name, we can see which strength is described. Here we see the 5 tough leaves sprout out, and they are surround the lily. The lily is, as it were, in the absolute. And now 5 tough leaves appears, and they refer at the continual building up of the Masach in her. The strength to receive the upcoming light, because without Masach, without the screen, nothing can be received. They are these 5 tough leaves, a preparation for the merging in the time of Gadlut. First, 1 Sphira came at the lily, above in the Absolute, and the 9 were below in the Bria. Then we see a further development. It is the same in every development. In our condition too, we see the same. 5 tough leaves appears at her. Everything consists of 5. Tough because there's only the strength in the potential to be able to resist the light and not to reflect the light. First, you must have the resisting strength so the light can't penetrate. You can see this is a prephase. A person hasn't yet the strength to resist the light. The light only comes through him, but he will feel nothing. There's absolutely no consciousness to distinguish the light. The whole story about the act of creation, the whole Torah, is therefore to learn and to become consciousness of the light. For us, it is all the same light. A child too has to learn to distinguish what is good and what is wrong. In the spiritual, it is not different. Here too, you have to learn to distinguish the light. The first phase in the distinguishing of the light is to learn how one can reject the light. Not reflecting, but rejecting. The strength to say no has to grow in you. Let me give you an example. Someone has drinking problems, or perhaps someone is addicted to watch the whole night porno. How can a person become released from an addiction? Listen very carefully. Suppose someone is addicted to alcohol. He can't distinguish the light, the alcohol, because when he sees alcohol, he drinks. He's not in the state to enjoy the drink. And that makes him addicted. And what is the first start of the correction? In a way, you can use this for everything. First, he has to bring up the strength to drink, not a drop of alcohol, because when he drinks 1 glass, he hasn't any control. So the first step is not to receive. He is at home and he wants the booze, but it is not allowed. He stays at home for 3 months and he has an enormous pain, an enormous sorrow. He needs tremendous strength not to drink. In these 3 months, he's building up the Masach, the 5 tough leaves, just as we have seen at the Nukwa. These 5 strengths are the resistance for the alcohol, the porno, or whatever one is addicted to. Maybe he's constantly reading books because this is an addiction too. It comes from the same source. Remember this, even a bookworm is addicted. So for 3 months, he doesn't drink and he doesn't go to parties. The next step is that he says to himself and that he has some strength and now he's able to go to a party and to drink 1 or 2 glasses of wine. Now he's capable to reject the light, to reject the joy, the coffee, etc. Now he's saying that he's capable to drink only 2 glasses of wine and to go home. Now he has Masach. This is an enormous step forwards. It is the same in other cases. It is easier to say no than to receive a little. One has to build up. Exactly the same we see in the text we are reading. Here he's telling us that it is a preparation for the zivuk, for the merging in the time of Gadlut. Exactly the same when a person has been sitting at home for 3 months, and now he is in the situation to receive. These 3 months are a preparation for Gadlut, for the time he can go to a party and enjoy. Now he can receive in full degree. The difference is now he's standing in his own power and not above his own power. And the fact that these 10 sferot of the reflecting light are named 5 gurot, 5 severe strengths, these are Hagat, and Na. Nehi a Hod. Hesed, Guvra, Tiferet, Netzach in Hod, and not in the name of Kachabtum, as mentioned above. Keter, Chochmah, Binah, Tiferet, Malchut. Tiferet is Ze'ah. Instead of Ze'ah, Tiferet is often used. As mentioned above, the aspect of this is because they only attract the Or Hasidim, and by this Kachab descend to below from their higher position, and now they are named Hagat and Tiferet and Malchut, are named Netzach and Hod. It seems complicated, but I will explain it to you. We have said that the Sfirot are named Keter, Chochmah, Binah, Zeir Anpin, and Malchut. And Ze'ah is often called according to the main trait of Ze'ah, and that is Tiferet, splendor. Why splendor? Because Ze'ah has in himself two things, a little Chochmah and a lot of Hasidim, a lot of mercy. That's why it is called Tiferet. Ze'ah has 6 Sfirot, from Chesed to and until Yesod. Keter, Chochmah, and Binah are head, Rosh. The light enters first into the head. Chesed, Gura, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, Yesod are the body, the torso, Toch. So we see the 6 Sfirot of the Ze'ah are considering himself 10 Sfirot too. Chesed, Guvra, and Tiferet are in the body as Keter, Chokmah, and Binah. They fulfill the function of the head. Chesed fulfills the role of the Keter, of the body. Guvra fulfills the role of Chokmah, and Tiferet the role of Binah. In the body, the torso, there is no head, but just as we can see with ourselves, the head has an effect on the body in the torso. When you feel pain in your ear, you feel it in your body. The whole body is connected, but the source is in the head. We speak about an ENT specialist. There's no need specialist who is concerned about the liver. You see the same here. When we speak about the head, it is the strength of the head. For example, Chokmah has also 5 in herself. From herself she has Chokmah. From above she has Keter and Binah. Ze'ah and Malchut are embedded in herself as other organs. Every Sfirah has 10 or 5. Keter has from himself Keter, and Chokmah is embedded in himself. But it is not the quality of Chokmah. Through the embedding, he makes in his quality. He makes it his quality. Chokmah draws from above the Keter in her, and from below she draws Binah. And that becomes the Binah of Chokmah because everything is connected with another. We already know that the Jewish people were scattered around the world. On the one hand, because they had sinned. On the other hand, it was in the plan of the Creator, because the Jews have the quality of the head. Is the head higher than the body? A head can't function without a body, and without legs a person is handicapped. Everything is connected with each other. Everything must consist of 10. Also the soul of every human being, but in the general there is something that the Jews had to be scattered around the world, the whole world. It is very funny things. Jews from Russia moved to America or to France, and they didn't understand why they did that. And then they stayed at one place. I too traveled through Europe and have a family in America, and still I stay here in the Netherlands. What is the meaning of this? When a Jew does his job, listen to this destination. And that doesn't mean he has to go to Israel. Only when the time of the Mashiach has arrived, the time of the third temple, then all the Jews will come to Israel to serve there. But it is not necessary before that time. So when someone goes to Israel in an artificial way, it is possible that he doesn't act according to the plan of the Creator. Of course, to be a Zionist is beautiful, but a Jew is not made for to be a Zionist of anti-Zionist or anti-Zionist. A Jew is made to correct himself and to help the whole world to come to fulfillment. When a Jew stays in the Netherlands, for example, and he doesn't understand why, it means that the Jew is the head, and then he goes to a country where the nation is, or the 70 nations are, as it were, scattered in the people of that country. The Creator sends him to a country that is in agreement with his own character, his own roots. A Jew has, of course, his own roots. The Jew's roots he must help other people, invisible, to help these people to come out of the klipot, the unclean forces, and to draw the sparks of the deity up high. A Jew travels around the world and then he stays in one country. This means it is his function to stay in that country, to work in that country, and not somewhere else. Me, for instance, I feel at home. And in Russia, I didn't have that feeling, although I was born there. But in the spirit, I belong here, in the Netherlands. When I came to Amsterdam, I felt myself at home. Can you imagine? As roots, we are scattered to draw the deity of all other nations up high. And this is not because we are good. It is the task of every Jew. A Jew arrives in that country where he has to do his job. He arrives in that country because he is the head for all the souls of that particular country. And they are the body, the torso. And it is important that you receive from them the torso and the legs, because together it becomes 10 sfirot, wholeness. My wife told me about an Orthodox rabbi who was brought to Israel to be buried in his prayer shawl, that I want too not to be buried in a coffin. It is written in Zohar that when a Jew is not buried in Israel, his soul has to travel from the country where he had lived, by way of the earth, to find his way to Israel. Of course, it is nice and handy when you are buried in Israel. Then you don't have to do so much trouble. But it is very egoistic. If I am called as a Jew to work here in the Netherlands, and I have seen many countries, and only here I feel at ease, and that I want to be buried here too, because I have worked for this country, and after the death of a Kabbalist, it is not the meaning that the people make a pilgrimage, but if that may be a place to pray. The body dies, but the soul of a Jew who has passed away ascends and pleads for that country because that is his root. Then he must not want to be buried in Israel because he has to make a long way there. His way is here. Here is his job, so here he must be buried. And then plead for the nation, because that is your 7 bottom sfirot. Please refer to the drawing 10 in the written materials. And we continue. In the head there's always Keter, Chokhmah, Binah, and the mouth, Pei. The first receiving is always through the mouth, and then to the body. There are receiving in the head too, spiritual by the way of our hair. We are nurtured too. It comes to our forehead, and then the light can enter. We have 2 entrances in the ears and in the nose. Zohar will explain us why certain organs are paired, a left and a right organ, but that is for later. Even in our throat we have 2 entrances, one for the air and one for the food and drinks. In the reproductive organ of the man there are 2 openings, one for the sperm, the right one, and the good one, and the left openings for the urine. Left is din, and when it is the right portion it is good. The most organs are paired, but there are organs that are single. In the beginning, Nukva had only 1 sfirah, but step by step it comes 3. Light always wants to penetrate. The first phase is to build up the masach. The second phase is the reflecting. Then it will come into the body. The body is the thicker light, and the reaction is the making of the gates, just as the water that rises at both sides. Then the light can enter, be surrounded through the walls of Kilim. Zivug is the upcoming of the light, the reflection, and then the entering. This will happen at the place of Masach. In Rosh, it will happen at the place of Peh, mouth. There is the Masach. At exactly the same way we receive light of the Creator. In this way we can let come in God. There is no other way. It is a combined action. Look in the Torah. What does Abraham do? He negotiates with God. In the story we can read that he knew that Sodom would break down, and there would be no Masahim and other relations. There would be no contact with the Creator. And he asked, are there maybe 50 righteousness? What does 50 mean? 50 are 5 sfirot, and each of them has 10 in it, together 50. What Abraham meant was, is there someone who has corrected himself so that he had 50 righteousness? And there was not such a person. Then he asked, maybe 45. No, then maybe eventually he said maybe 10. And there was not a person with 10, and then it is useless. Because when there is not one step that can reflect the light, it is not worthwhile in the eyes of the Eternal. The light, what enters the Rosh, is the light Chokhmah. Chokhmah is thinner light, is ideas, and the head can manage. But for the body, it isn't food, because the body is rudimentary. In the body, in the Zerampin, Ze'ah, the torso, there comes light too, light Hasidim, because there has been Masach, and thicker light, the light that has coarsened. The main quality of the Ze'ah is Hasidim, mercy, the giving. And below is the Malchut. There is a merging, and that find place in Pei, in the mouth, because there is a buildup on the Masach, and there the direct light will be reflected. Nukwa builds in her body her own Masach, the 5 tough leaves that can't reflect the upcoming light. At the moment they can reflect, they are named 5 Gurot. The whole Zohar is speaking about this. When the first receiving has been in the Rosh, he comes at Zerampin. The direct light, the upcoming light, arrives at Masach, at the receiver. The light Chokhmah is namely light. It has everything in it, and is higher than Hasidim that has only the giving. Regarding Chokhmah, Hasidim arises from the receiving. From the torso, it goes to the Malchut, and she has already built the Masach, the 5 tough leaves. You can compare this with the man who is sitting at home for 3 months to build up strength to resist the drink. First, he builds up strength to stop drinking alcohol. He builds up 5 strengths, whereas he doesn't know what he's doing. And when he feels he has the strength to not become addicted, means that he has the strength, that he has built up the 5 sfirot regarding the booze. And this too is a correction. Of course, we are speaking here only about spiritual correction. By learning of the Kabbalah, we will see that the unnecessary things will leave us alone. Anything what is too much brings death. When a person has luxury, he has to know how to handle it. Of course, there is difference. One person has enough at one stake, and another needs more. He needs more power, has a greater stomach or greater eyes. Everyone has to make a decision for his own. It is possible to be a multimillionaire and still have nothing unnecessary. When he is a good manager, is not addicted to money, and can work at himself spiritually, then this is good too. The light of Hasidim enters in the body, Toch, as direct light, and wants to enter the Malchut. She hasn't yet the strength to reflect the light. Zohar is telling us that there is only one Sphira above the water. In the Torah, between the second and the third mentioning of Elokim are 5 words. The Torah is telling us that according to the strengths, that at the 1 Sphira of the Nukwa, there were built up strengths, the 5 tough leaves. These are strengths to withhold. These are strengths to withhold the light. The spiritual world are differently composed than we are. We want to say it doesn't matter, but in the spiritual this is impossible. The Creator has made it impossible for us to receive egoistically. The system is made in a way one can't receive egoistically. There is no receiving beyond the powers you have. When we receive egoistically, we feel death, the feeling of a hangover. All the laws in the Torah forbidding, preserve us to receive or prevent us to receive egoistically during these 6,000 years. There is no egoistic receiving in the spiritual. The whole spiritual ladder of Yaakov is built in this way. The tree of life, when you hold on to this tree, you will get life. When you hold on to the tree of life, you will see in the strengths there can't be an egoistic receiving. There's only altruistic receiving. And from this receiving, you don't get a hangover. It is the same at the Nukwa. First appears Keter, and the Zohar is telling us between the second and the third mentioning of the name Elokim, the severe names, because here are built up the severe strengths. We will see which name was been used at the destroying of Sodom and at the deluge of Noah. In Keter we see the 5 tough leaves, Masach, because she hasn't the strength to reflect the light. In the 3rd paragraph, Sulam tells us the fact she is called Hagat and Na, and not Kahab. What does he want to say to us? The light doesn't come from the mouth Pei, the head, but from Hasidim, from Zerampin, Ze'ah. Ze'ah is the torso, and there are 5 Hasidim. Chagat, and they agree with Kahab. Netzach, in the torso, agrees with Ze'ah, and Chod with Malchut. Each partzuf, every spiritual unit, has 5 sfirot. We see this too in the torso. In Ze'ah are 5 sfirot too, but they are not named Kahab and Zon, but 5 Hasidim. It is simple, but it has taken several years for me to understand. There's no Kabbalist in the whole world who can explain this. We are in need of so many words. Zohar doesn't explain it clearly. The matter is that you have to ask, desire from the inside. There must be a cry for understanding. Do not try to understand with your head. The understanding has to come from inside. Most of the rabbis have all their knowledge in their head, enormous knowledge, but the Zohar isn't speaking to them, but to me. In Ze'ah are 5 Hasidim, and the Chokhmah isn't there because Ze'ah is not in need of the Chokhmah. Chokhmah came at the mouth, Peh, and was reflected by the Masach. And this reflecting strength is named Or Din, light of Din, or Hoser because it comes from the creation, from the downside. Everything what is under regarding the higher is to be seen as the creation and the light. What is under the Masach wants to receive, makes oneself receptive, and then Or Chokhmah enters in the Or Hasidim, and together they become 5 Hasidim. In Rosh is only Chokhmah, singular, but in the torso, the Ze'ah, there are 5, and they are named Hasidim. These strengths are 5 Hasidim. Now we know that the upcoming light at Nukva are the 5 Hasidim, Hagat, Na. Yesod also belongs to Ze'ah, but he is, as it were, a point of collection. All the strengths are collected in the Yesod, and Yesod gives them at the Malchut. In a way, Yesod is the husband of Malchut. First, the lily has had 1 sfirah, Keter, and then there's a swelling, the building of the strength of the resistance, Din, and this is named 5 tough leaves. And when everything is built up, she has the strength to reflect, and not only the resistance, and that is named 5 Gurot. The female aspect is Gurot, and the male aspect is Hasidim. The quality of Nukva is therefore Gurot. Ze'ah doesn't need this. He is only the strengths of Hasidim, mercy. Look at a man. When he doesn't want any responsibility, he goes sitting half naked in the lotus position at the Ganges, or the Nile, or the Tigris. He doesn't need a woman or anybody, but a man is created just as Ze'ah, to give at the Nukva, because the Nukva hasn't anything of her own, and she must receive from the Ze'ah. Her own strength is Gurot, and the Creator wanted that there would be these 2 strengths. How can the Gurot come to her as they are not in the germ in Ze'ah? Of course, you can find them in him too. The 5 Hasidim are in him, and when the Nukva makes in her own a reaction up high and says, I want to have that cloth, he starts working in the night and gives her the cloth. For himself, he doesn't need it. It is the same in the spiritual. As soon as the Nukva has the strength to react, the Ze'ah wakes up. It is through the Gurot in her that she makes gates, and in there comes the light of Hasidim, from her left side, inwardly. The left side of Hasidim is as the Gurot, and they come at her to make her stronger. For her it is Hasidim, but for Ze'ah it is Gurot, because Ze'ah has his right side Hasidim, and at the left side Gurot regarding himself. Regarding the Nukva, it is Hasidim because his Gurot are the quality of Hasidim. Note that a man has also the male and female aspects in himself. The female aspect of the man is, for the woman, a male aspect. For him it is female Gurot, and this he gives at her. Through her 5 Gurot, she makes it 5 gates. She makes 5 gates in where his Gurot can enter, and these are the 5 gates before the heaven. It is written in the Psalm, open your gates and let God enter. That is the strength of Ze'ah that enters the Malchut. And we are under the Malchut. And when we do the same action as Malchut, we will open by our prayers the gates. A person ascends the Malchut. We are the one that raises the Malchut. And she goes up to Ze'ah. And Ze'ah goes to the Binah and then to Chokhmah, to arrive eventually at Ein Sof. The light comes from Ein Sof and comes down by ways of all the worlds, and every link in the world will be filled. And the person who is learning at 3 o'clock the person who's learning at 3 o'clock at night will fill everything. Kabbalah is a rule learned at night. Again, Kabbalah, as a rule, is learned at night. Bechatzot laila, universal midnight, to maximally quicken the speed of our correction. When the night falls, the twilight also falls, and then the din rules. By day, Hasidim rules, love, mercy, every day, as everything is created in this way. And at midnight of the universe, which is mostly around 3 o'clock in the morning, the time when the day is stimulated, the powers of the left side are being stimulated. Din, strictness of the law. And if a human being sleeps at that time, then he wastes a beautiful chance in his life, as his flesh gains the upper hand on him. Therefore, we feel as a piece of meat in the morning, and we need coffee to wake up. While the intention of the creative plan is that the human being stands up at 3 o'clock in the morning and brings man above, prayer, study. We don't know what a prayer is, but the study of Kabbalah is a prayer, the study of the spiritual. How do we know what to say? Give me, as a child. But the study of Kabbalah is man. Torah is the middle line. And when we learn at night, we will let the middle line go above, and in Binah, the left side, which is Gura, is softened, sweetened. We make sure that the middle line is also created in the higher spheres, so that the right line and the left line don't fight with each other and are not two antipodes. But we make sure that the middle line is created above, and then it comes back to us. Then we are the first who will receive the blessing. This way we can do a lot of corrections every night. It's, of course, at the beginning difficult to stand up at 3 o'clock. Who will think this is worth the effort? Maybe if you feel better by it. But we still have to sacrifice here. I've always said that Kabbalah is individual and that I don't interfere in your personal corrections, but of course I'm in some way involved with every one of you. But during the previous Shabbat, my wife had lit the candles and I was busy. New computer and so on. And when I came to myself, why I'm telling you this? I'm telling this because it has in some way to do with every one of us, every one of you. And if you know how I experience it, then you will. Because every human being experiences it in the same way. Of course, a bit different, because your soul is different, but the principle is the same. Suddenly I received a light, a fraction of a second, and I was given an image what I had to do. I had a weak protest, but I knew that it was useless to protest. It's not my plan. I learned Zohar. Ari. Need I to do more? It was about the midnight study. It was about the night study. To learn every night from 3 till 5:30 Kabbalah. I protested a bit and said, what if there are no candidates? And the answer was given to me clearly in power. Then you are free from this assignment. This was given to me in order to propose it to you. It would be good if 1 or 2 people could come at night for the study and others can listen to the lessons at home, preferably also at 3 o'clock in the morning. It's every night except from Friday to Saturday, as then I have to give my wife attention. That's the law. I have calculated that what we do in 1 year with 1 lesson a week, we'll do in 1.5 months. And in 1 year, we'll do as much as in 8 years. And this is only calculated mathematically. From the spiritual point of view, it's a lot more. Everything has to be like this. The best possible way of burning. We can't bear to study Zohar more than 1 time a week. The Zohar, I give sufficient explanation about the spiritual work, and it's sufficient for the human being. It's the absolute minimum. But there are maybe other people who want to go faster. These people must also have a chance. If there are people who do the night study, then their power is also added to those who don't do it. We all get something out of it. So it's not a competition that the people who do the night study know more than the ones who don't do it. But there is a second condition that I have to tell you. There exists a law. We have seen that the 9 Sefirot can receive the light, but not Malchut. 1/10 had to be given away to the divine. And that's the 1/10 of what the Torah speaks of. What we do once a week is a course, but when it comes to the real study, at which we'll learn great things and will progress very fast with a lot of dedication, then it is needed. So 1/10 of your income. If you're not willing to do it, then not. Of course, it's not the intention that you, by this, will eat less. It's all not simple. How can someone progress without increasingly wanting to give? A Kabbalist who learns more needs to give more. 1/10 is, of course, only striving. Give what you're capable to give. In the first part of the night study, we'll learn Shlavei HaSulam of Ashlag. 5 books, a sort of commentary on the whole Zohar, on Torah. It's a bit in the style of a guide for spiritual development, but built up towards the spiritual work. It shows Zohar of a lighter side. In the second part, we'll study the 2 books of Ari, 600 pages, Etz Chaim. There are only a few in the world who have access to it. I have a special affinity with it, as Ari is my teacher. The Hebrew is so simple, so high, and so brilliant. Because the spiritual is simple, so is the language also simple. Of course, everything revolves around Zohar. If you don't study at night and sleep till 7 o'clock, then you lose your life. It's unbelievable when you study at 3 o'clock. At the beginning, you think, what did I get myself into? But if you see what you can achieve in 1 month, it's moreover a favorable time, as the gates are at the moment open from above. I don't have any words for it now, but Zohar will tell us all about it. The night study is of course free of obligations. You have to be physically and financially capable, and both arouse enormous resistance within us. Our body will resist standing up at night, and your mind will ask, why are you giving away money? This is what concerns the night study. I had to pass this on. If there are no candidates, then I'll go back to sleep. Until the next lesson, be well.